I was on a long road trip, and by the time night fell, I was desperately in need of a place to stay. That's when I stumbled upon a small, remote motel on the outskirts of a desolate town. It looked run down, but the neon vacancy sign flickered to life just as I approached. Inside the lobby, an elderly receptionist with tired eyes handed me a key to a room at the end of a dimly lit corridor. I couldn't help but notice the flicker of unease in her expression as she handed me the key. As I entered the room, the musty smell hit me like a wave. The furnishings were old and worn, and the curtains were heavy and stained. It was clear that the motel had seen better days, but I was too tired to be picky. I locked the door behind me and settled in for the night. Hours passed, and I was on the verge of sleep when I heard it, a soft, rhythmic knocking on my door. It was a slow, deliberate sound, and it sent shivers down my spine. Who could be knocking at this hour in such a desolate place? As the knocking on my door grew louder, it echoed through the narrow corridor of the motel with a menacing rhythm. Each thud reverberated through my chest, making my heart race even faster. I knew I had to see who was outside, but dread clawed at me like a wild animal. I approached the door with trembling hands, my breath shallow and ragged. My fingers trembled as I reached for the peephole, and when I peered through, a shock of terror surged through me. I didn't dare to speak a single word. A man stood there, shrouded in the dim, flickering glow of the motel's sign. His face was concealed beneath the depths of a tattered hood, casting his features into shadow. But his eyes were visible, and they gleamed with an unnatural intensity. They burned like coals in the darkness, and their malevolence seemed to pierce through the very peephole, sending icy shivers down my spine. He knocked again, this time more insistently, and the sound was no longer a mere knock but a violent, desperate banging. The door quivered under the assault, and I could see the wood splintering, ready to give way. Panic gripped me like a vice, and I reached for my phone, my trembling fingers fumbling as I tried to call the receptionist for help. But as I held the receiver to my ear, all I heard was a chilling silence. No dial tone, no connection to the outside world, just an eerie void that seemed to mock my desperation. A sinking feeling weighed heavy in my chest. I was trapped, utterly isolated, alone with this sinister figure who was now threatening to break down the door. My mind raced, desperately searching for an escape, a way out of this nightmarish ordeal. That's when my eyes fell upon the window, my only lifeline out of this nightmare. I dashed to it, the banging on the door growing more frenzied behind me. With trembling hands, I threw open the window and climbed onto the narrow windowsill. The ground below seemed impossibly far, but the fear coursing through me gave me the strength to lower myself down. I landed on the rain-soaked earth below with a painful thud, my body trembling from the impact. I didn't dare look back, fearing what I might see if I did. I sprinted away from the motel, not stopping until I reached the nearest town, where I finally found a safe haven and the means to contact the authorities. To this day, the encounter at that motel remains an unexplained terror that haunts my nightmares.
I had been driving through the desolate countryside, miles away from any town or city. The sun had set, and the darkness was closing in around me. Exhausted and in need of rest, I spotted a motel nestled along the lonely stretch of road. The motel looked run down, with faded paint and a flickering neon sign. But I was too tired to be picky. I parked my car and headed to the reception area, where a disheveled clerk handed me the key to a room at the far end of the building. The corridor leading to my room was dimly lit, and the air felt heavy with an unsettling stillness. I tried to shake off my unease, attributing it to the remote location. But as I entered my room, a shiver ran down my spine. The room felt eerie and quiet, like the silence was heavy with secrets. The wallpaper on the walls was old and peeling, giving the place a spooky atmosphere. I needed to shake off the tiredness, so I decided to take a quick shower. As the lukewarm water washed over me, I heard something strange. It was a soft, haunting hum, like a creepy song coming from the room next door. My heart started to race as I turned off the shower to listen more closely. The humming grew louder, but it didn't sound right. It was like the tune of a mad person, all eerie and jumbled. I wrapped a towel around myself and carefully opened the bathroom door to see what was going on. And there she was, a woman in the dimly lit room next door. Her appearance was wild and messy, with wide, vacant eyes and tangled, untamed hair. She swayed back and forth, humming that eerie tune like a demented lullaby. I was frozen in terror, not knowing what to do. The woman's eyes locked onto me, and her humming turned into a whisper, but it was a chilling and insane whisper. "You shouldn't be here," she hissed, her voice dripping with madness. Panic surged through me, and I started to back away slowly, my heart pounding loudly in my ears. But she suddenly lunged at me with a gleaming knife in her hand. I barely managed to slam the bathroom door shut, and I saw the knife thud against the wood. With the door locked, I knew I had to escape. I quickly got dressed and looked out the window, but it was too small to get through. My only option was to make a run for it. When I thought the woman was far enough away, I burst out of the bathroom, rushed to the door, and threw it open. I sprinted down the dark hallway, my heart pounding, but when I reached the front desk to ask for help, it was empty. The clerk had vanished. I didn't dare look back. I made a beeline for my car, but there she was again, standing beside my car's mirror, her crazed eyes fixed on me. She started pounding on the car, the sound echoing through the night like a dreadful drumbeat. Without thinking, I jumped into the car, started the engine, and sped away, leaving the deranged woman behind. As I raced away from that terrifying motel, my heart still pounding like a drum, I couldn't shake the image of her in my rearview mirror, a haunting reminder of the horrors I had narrowly escaped.
I had been driving for hours, and as night fell, I realized that I had taken a wrong turn and was completely lost in the middle of nowhere. The storm that had been brewing on the horizon was now directly overhead, unleashing its fury upon the landscape. The rain was coming down in torrents, making it nearly impossible to see the road ahead. Lightning illuminated the dark, winding path for brief, eerie moments, revealing nothing but dense forest on either side. My phone had no signal, and the gas tank was nearly empty. Panic began to set in as I wondered how I would find my way back to civilization. That's when I spotted the faint glow of lights in the distance, barely visible through the thick veil of rain and darkness. Desperation led me to follow that faint light, which eventually brought me to the ominous hotel that seemed to have materialized out of nowhere. It was as if the storm itself had guided me there, offering shelter from the tempestuous night. As I stepped out of my car and made my way to the lobby, I couldn't shake the feeling that the hotel had been waiting for me, that it had drawn me in with its eerie allure. It was a dark and stormy night when I checked into the old, creaky hotel on the outskirts of town. The lobby was dimly lit, and the flickering candles cast eerie shadows on the faded wallpaper. The receptionist had a strange, distant look in her eyes as she handed me the room key. As I climbed the narrow staircase to my room on the third floor, the sounds of the storm outside grew louder. The wind howled through the cracks in the windows, and rain beat against the glass like ghostly fingers trying to get in. Inside my room, the air felt damp and musty. I turned on the bedside lamp, but the feeble light barely penetrated the darkness. The furniture was antique, and the room seemed frozen in time, with faded paintings on the walls and a heavy, moth-eaten curtain that swayed ominously in the breeze from the cracked window. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Every creak and groan of the old building sent shivers down my spine. I decided to take a shower to calm my nerves. The bathroom was equally eerie, with an ancient clawfoot bathtub and a shower curtain that billowed mysteriously in the draft. Under the lukewarm shower, I heard a soft, ghostly whisper. It was so quiet, like someone whispering my name from afar. My heart pounded like a drum in my chest, and I stopped, frozen in fear. I turned off the shower and listened carefully, but there was nothing, just eerie silence. Shaken, I stepped out of the bathroom, and that's when I saw it, a dark shape standing at the end of my bed. A chill ran down my spine as I stared at the shadowy figure. My thoughts raced, and I fumbled for the room key to turn on the lights. After what felt like an eternity, I managed to flood the room with light, but the figure had vanished. Panic surged through me, and I searched every corner, every closet, and under the bed. But there was no one else in the room. I couldn't explain it, but I knew I had seen something that didn't belong. That night, I didn't sleep a wink. Every sound, every gust of wind, and every shadow seemed to conspire to keep me awake. Fear gripped me in its icy grasp, and I stayed awake in terror until morning's feeble light finally crept through the curtains. When daybreak arrived, I checked out of the hotel as fast as I could, never to return. To this day, I can't forget the feeling of being watched in that eerie hotel, and the mysterious figure at the foot of my bed remains an unsettling and unexplained memory that haunts me. It serves as a chilling reminder that sometimes, when you're alone and vulnerable, fear can become an unrelenting presence. If you found any enjoyment in the video, I implore you to click that like button and subscribe if you dare.